The bride ran out on her wedding day, so I turned around and married her sister. The day I was supposed to marry Chloe Jensen, the man she despised most in the world sent her a desperate plea. "Chloe, help me. I've been kidnapped." She was supposed to love me more than life itself, but she had nothing but contempt for Leo Vance. It was because I'd once stepped in to save Leo that I'd been injured and ended up in a coma, unresponsive for years. For that, she transferred all her anger to him, loathing the very sight of him. 3 years later, I woke up. She threw her arms around me, trembling with excitement. "Ethan, we can finally be together forever." She seemed to love me as much as she always had, but I started noticing something. Her gaze kept drifting to Leo Vance. On our wedding day, she looked at me, her eyes filled with guilt. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, "but I have to go save him. He was kidnapped because of me." I had to face the fact that her heart had changed, but I made one last attempt to hold on. "Let the police handle it, Chloe. I need you to think this through. If you walk out that door, this wedding is off." She didn't hesitate. "You're the only one for me, Ethan. I swear I'll be back to marry you. This wedding is absolutely not canceled." With that, she left me standing at the altar, a spectacle for the entire city to laugh at. I looked out at the guests, my eyes landing on Chloe's stunningly beautiful sister. I walked over to her. "Chloe was right about one thing," I said. "I'm not canceling the wedding. But who the bride is, that's not so important." After rescuing Leo Vance and spending 7 days by his side at the hospital, Chloe Jensen finally remembered me, the fiancé she'd abandoned at the altar. By the time she came looking for me to fulfill our marriage contract, I had already returned from my honeymoon. Later, she searched for me frantically on a night of torrential rain, only to find me standing with another woman. The woman was gorgeous, her eyes cold and proud. "Chloe," she said, "call me your sister-in-law." Pain, a sharp, piercing pain brought me back. I slowly opened my eyes. 3 years ago, I was about to marry Chloe. I was lost in the joy of finally making her my wife when the accident happened. I'd seen Leo Vance getting beaten up by his then-girlfriend and her friends, and I stepped in to help. He was incredibly grateful, but still went crawling back to the woman who had just betrayed him. In the end, his girlfriend blamed me for everything. She ambushed me on my way to work, looking for revenge. The night before my wedding, I was left bleeding in an alley, and I slipped into a coma. I've been lying here for 3 years. "Mr. Hayes, you're finally awake." A familiar, tearful voice cut through the fog. I opened my eyes to see Maria, our housekeeper, looking at me with tears streaming down her face as she frantically mashed the nurse call button. Doctor, Mr. Hayes is awake." Maria gripped my hand, crying with joy. "Mr. Hayes, you're finally back. I'm calling Ms. Jensen right now. You have no idea, sir. These past 3 years, Ms. Jensen has been a ghost of herself. There were times she was so low, she could barely go on. She was here with you every single day, finding the best medical teams for you. She even managed your clothes, your food, everything all by herself. She never let anyone else do it. I knew Chloe was good to me. I knew she loved me. If it weren't for that accident 3 years ago, we would have been married long ago." Hearing Maria's words chased away some of the confusion and fear that came with waking up. I propped myself up against the headboard, my voice still weak. "Maria, where's Chloe? If she'd been by my side day and night, why wasn't she here the moment I woke up?" Maria's expression turned complicated, and she fell silent for a long moment. Just as I started to worry something had happened to Chloe, Maria sighed. "It's all that useless Leo Vance's fault. Ms. Jensen had to go clean up another one of his messes," she went on, her voice filled with disapproval for Leo. "Ms. Jensen can't stand that man. If it weren't for him, his ex-girlfriend would never have put you in a coma. He's been nothing but trouble for her these past few years, and she's always the one who has to bail him out. She hates him, she really does. She can't even stand to look at him." I listened in silence. If Chloe truly despised someone, would she help him again and again? Everyone said she was deeply in love with me, and I believed them. But at this crucial moment, the moment I finally woke up, she was with Leo Vance, the man she supposedly hated. I shook my head, trying to banish the ridiculous thought. Maybe she just didn't know I would wake up today, I told myself. "How are you feeling?" A cool, clear voice sounded from above me. I looked up and met a pair of hazel eyes, clear, deep, like a spring pond you could gaze into forever. I shook my head, my voice hoarse. "I'm okay. Thanks, Doc." The woman's body tensed slightly. Her white coat couldn't hide her graceful figure. Her beautiful face, hidden behind a surgical mask, was perfectly sculpted, clean, and sharp. Her name was Serena Kane. She was Chloe's sister. And though she was older, she was actually 5 years younger than me. I'd heard she had no interest in the family business and was dedicated to medicine. After I fell into the coma, I'd been in her hospital's care. Your initial scans look clear. Just focus on resting. If you have any issues, come back for a checkup. Serena took off her mask and frowned slightly. Where's Chloe? Before I could answer, Maria jumped in. It's that Leo Vance again, causing trouble for Ms. Jensen. She's always cleaning up his messes. Sometimes she's so busy with him, she can hardly look after Mr. Hayes. That man is nothing but a useless jinx. A total loser. A slight pang went through my heart. I heard myself say, don't say that. Chloe went of her own free will. Both women glanced at me, Serena's gaze particularly sharp and meaningful. The atmosphere suddenly felt delicate. Maria seemed to realize her mistake and looked at me cautiously. Mr. Hayes, please don't be upset. I just have a big mouth. Ms. Jensen cares about you more than anyone. If you hadn't saved Leo Vance back then, she wouldn't want your good deed to go to waste. She wouldn't give that man a second glance otherwise. She can't stand him. Every time she sees him, she's disgusted. I took a slow breath to calm myself. It's fine, I told her. I'm not overthinking it. I hope I wasn't. After all, I knew better than anyone how Chloe felt about me. She would have given her life for me, and she'd stood by me for 3 long years. What was there to doubt? An hour later, my checkup was complete. It wasn't until 9 o'clock that night that Chloe burst through the door. Ethan, she called my name as she appeared in the doorway, a vision in a sleek black suit that made her look both slim and captivating. She was the same woman from 3 years ago, yet she seemed to have matured. I smiled, studying her closely. Chloe, you've worked so hard these past 3 years. For 3 years, she had been by my side day and night, exhausting herself with worry for me. It had etched a faint trace of weariness into her otherwise beautiful features. Chloe couldn't hold back any longer. Her eyes red, she rushed into my arms. Ethan, don't you ever leave me again. Her grip was surprisingly strong for someone so slender, so tight it almost hurt. We're getting married, right away. I can't bear the thought of losing you again. Her voice was husky as she made her vow in my ear. I was moved. It would be a lie to say I wasn't. I was about to agree when my eyes drifted to the corner of the doorway and saw a man standing there, his face a mask of sorrow. He looked utterly wounded, his gaze fixed on Chloe's back, his eyes brimming with an emotion that was about to spill over. If I remember correctly, he was the man I had saved 3 years ago, Leo Vance. Noticing my silence, Chloe frowned. As if sensing something, she followed my gaze and saw Leo. In that instant, I felt the arms around me tighten fiercely. It was different from the tender affection moments before. Her embrace was now impossibly stiff. Chloe, what's wrong? I murmured. She seemed to snap out of a trance and let me go. I'm sorry. She looked down, her eyes full of apology as she checked me over with concern. Ethan, it's all my fault. I got carried away. Maria chimed in from aside. Ms. Jensen was just so excited. You were asleep for 3 years, and she was terrified you'd disappear again now that you're finally back. Is that so? I lifted my head and offered a faint smile, my eyes locked on Chloe's. She cupped my face, her usually proud eyes filled with a deep love that was meant only for me. Don't be silly. Of course it is. In that moment, her eyes saw only me. But what about that flicker of distraction just a second ago? Who were you thinking of then? Leo, realizing we'd seen him, hesitated for a moment before stepping inside. Mr. Hayes, you're awake. That's great. He smiled at me, but it was a timid expression, as if he were both respectful and afraid of me. Chloe's brow furrowed in annoyance. I told you to go home. What are you doing here? Leo just stood there, offering no explanation, only a polite smile. He looked just as he had 3 years ago, gentle, refined, and a little weak. It's fine, I said softly. You can sit. Chloe's face remained a thundercloud, as if his very presence was an offense. Leo, naturally, didn't dare say anything more, just stood there awkwardly. I sighed and looked at Chloe. He didn't do anything wrong. You don't have to be so hard on him. He knows he can't do anything right, yet he always tries to be a hero, Chloe said coldly. I don't know why he even bothered following me here. He's just an annoyance. Maria couldn't help but add, Ms. Jensen is right. Mr. Vance, you really are a magnet for trouble. It would be better if you just stayed away. You're bad luck. At that, Chloe shot Maria a cold glare. Since when do you have a say in this? Not just Maria, but I was taken aback too. Maria was my longtime caretaker, and Chloe had always treated her with the utmost respect. To hear her speak so harshly now was shocking. I frowned, a knot tightening in my chest. I wasn't sure if it was my imagination, but while Chloe was overtly hostile toward Leo, it was as if she was the only one allowed to criticize him. If anyone else said a word against him, she would jump to his defense. Chloe, Maria shouldn't have said that. I'll apologize to Mr. Vance on her behalf. Chloe seemed to snap back to reality, her eyes darting toward me with a flash of panic. Ethan, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. Her gaze darkened as she turned back to Leo with disgust. Are you going to get out or not? Do you have to ruin our time together? Leo's eyes reddened, but he swallowed his hurt and said in a hoarse voice, I just wanted to make sure Mr. Hayes was okay and thank him in person. Mr. Hayes, thank you for saving me back then. Don't worry about it, I said with a casual smile. Has that woman been bothering you again? Leo managed a brighter smile. Thanks to Ms. Jensen, Carla hasn't been around for a long time. Chloe's expression soured. If you're stupid enough to get involved with her again, I won't even bother arranging your funeral if she has you killed. Leo immediately shrank back. I won't. That tight feeling in my chest grew heavier. Was I overthinking this? Why was it that even though Chloe acted like she hated Leo, there was an atmosphere between them that I just couldn't penetrate? After everyone else left, it was just Chloe and me in the room. In front of others, she was distant and cold, but with me, she was always gentle and indulgent. Ethan, now that you're awake, don't leave me again. As she gazed at me with such deep affection, that strange feeling I'd had about her and Leo slowly faded. It made me wonder if I had just been imagining things. After all, the tender look in her eyes right now couldn't be a lie. It wouldn't deceive me. I knew what she looked like when she loved me, and I was sure she still loved me, just as she always had. Okay, I said, pushing down the unease and pulling her into my arms. I won't be so reckless again. The Clearwater estate. The car stopped at the gate. Chloe opened the door and reached out to help me. I frowned. You don't have to do that. I can walk on my own. But Chloe was insistent. 3 years ago, I let go for just a second, and you were gone for 3 years. This time, I'm never letting go. My heart ached. I couldn't help but gently stroke her cheek. Yes, she had waited 3 whole years for me. Chloe turned her head and kissed my fingers. Ethan, I want to marry you. I can't wait any longer. Tomorrow, she declared, I'll announce to all of Seaport City that our wedding is back on. The night swayed, shadows of trees dancing in the dark. I was surprised to find that our home, the one we were supposed to move in 3 years ago, hadn't changed at all. It looked exactly as it did before my accident. The decor in the living room, the soaring spiral staircase, the plush carpeting that covered the entire estate, even the paintings on the walls. Nothing had been moved an inch. Chloe wrapped her arms around me from behind, her breath warm and alluring. Your oak grove is getting tall. I was thrilled. The grove is still here. I had planted those saplings myself 3 years ago, a symbol of our new beginning together. Of course, she brushed her hair aside, her expression deadly serious. I came here every single day to take care of it, because I knew that when you woke up, you wouldn't want to see a barren field. I was touched. She had a company to run and a comatose fiancé to look after, yet she still found time to tend to my oak grove. My earlier suspicions about her and Leo suddenly felt ridiculous. Chloe, I'll never leave you again. Her breathing grew uneven as she leaned in to kiss me, unable to hold back. Chloe, a sudden shout pierced the air, and Chloe froze. We both stiffened and looked toward the sound. It sounded like it came from the backyard, I said, frowning. Did one of the housekeepers get hurt? Chloe's expression was grim, but she didn't look surprised. Wait here. I'll handle it and be right back. With that, she strode toward the backyard, her face set. I followed, a little confused. The voice seemed to have come from the direction of the oak grove. A familiar figure was thrashing in the bushes, desperately calling for help. Ow! It hurts so much. I stopped in my tracks. It was unmistakably Leo Vance. He was tangled in the thorns of the rose bushes near the grove, struggling helplessly, his arm bleeding from scratches. Chloe's face was dark as she rushed over and pulled him free. You idiot! Who told you to come here? Leo stood up, cowering, his voice laced with guilt. I'm sorry. I just wanted to help take care of Mr. Hayes's oak grove. Chloe's expression shifted, but her tone was still harsh. How many times have I told you? I don't need you to do these things. You'll only get yourself hurt and make a mess. Leo shot back defensively, but I was just trying to repay Mr. Hayes. What does it have to do with you? Then, he looked at me with remorse. Mr. Hayes, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you. I don't know how else to repay your kindness, so I can only do these small things. I walked over. It's fine, I said softly, as long as you're not hurt. But Chloe was still fuming, glaring at Leo with disgust. If you can't do anything right, then just stay put and stop causing trouble for everyone. She was spewing venom, but I saw her eyes fixed on the bleeding cut on Leo's arm. My heart, warm just a moment ago, suddenly went cold. Maybe no one else could see it, but I could. Chloe was worried about him. Leo scurried away, his pride wounded. Chloe's words were too harsh for anyone to bear, even a man as meek as him. My own voice was cooler now. It's late. Let's go back. Chloe hadn't yet snapped out of it. She stared in the direction Leo had fled, her eyes dark with disgust, but her grip on my arm tightened. I knew what she was really feeling. She was worried about him. Chloe, I said, my voice a little louder, my tone even more detached. She finally turned back to me, her eyes filled with apology. I'm sorry. He damaged your oak trees. I'll make it up to you. She thought I was angry because his clumsiness had ruined the grove. I managed a smile, but it held no warmth. It's fine, Chloe. A grove that's been tainted by someone else. I don't want it anyway. No need to be angry. Her face froze for a fraction of a second. I slowly pulled my hand away and looked at her seriously. Chloe, you know me. I'm a one-track mind kind of guy. If what you give me is the same as what you give someone else, I'd rather have nothing at all. That was just who I was. I only wanted things that were exclusively mine. I didn't want half-hearted affection. I wanted singular, profound devotion. Chloe's expression darkened for a moment before she threw her arms around me, her voice husky. I will always be yours and yours alone. Good. I hugged her back. I had been asleep for 3 years. A lot had happened. For instance, in those 3 years, Chloe had cleaned up countless messes for Leo Vance. Leo, for his part, seemed determined to show his gratitude. He tried to help Chloe with the things she did for me, but he always managed to screw it up, and she would be left to fix his mistakes with a grim face. Everyone said Chloe hated Leo Vance. Even Chloe herself seemed to believe it. He's so incompetent. I don't know what you saw in him worth saving. It was a waste of the 3 years you lost. I just smiled at her. If I hadn't saved him, he would have been beaten to death. Could you have lived with that? Chloe's whole body went rigid. She immediately hugged me tighter. What are you talking about? She planted a kiss on my head. How could he possibly compare to you? Ethan, our wedding is tomorrow. I can finally marry you. She sounded wistful and deeply satisfied. Starting tomorrow, you'll be my lawfully wedded husband. I wanted to believe her. The way this woman loved me was identical to how she'd always loved me. Nothing had changed, except for one thing. This woman, who had always been so cold and aloof to the outside world, would lose control of her emotions in front of Leo Vance, even if it was just annoyance and impatience. He had become her exception. The day of the wedding. This ceremony was 3 years late, but every detail had been prepared long ago, so everything went smoothly. Chloe stood before me, more beautiful than ever. On the stage, we faced each other. Below the stage sat all our friends and family. This grand wedding had mobilized half of Seaport City and was even being broadcast live across all networks. But in a crowd that large, it was as if she could only see me. Ms. Jensen, do you take Mr. Hayes to be your husband, to have and to hold, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do you part? Her eyes were misty. She was about to answer when a jarring sound cut through the speakers, followed by a man's frantic cry for help. Chloe, help me. It was Leo's voice. Chloe's face instantly changed. Leo, what's wrong? Chloe, help me, that woman is back. She brought a whole crew with her, and she says she's going to kill me. The signal cut out, replaced by a woman's arrogant voice. Chloe Jensen, get over here with the ransom money now. Otherwise, you'll never see Leo Vance again. In a state of panic, Chloe instinctively started to drop her wedding ring. A sharp pain shot through my chest. I grabbed her hand. Chloe, what are you doing? She looked at me, her eyes pleading. I'm sorry, Ethan. I have to go save Leo. He's so naive and trusting. If I don't go, he'll really die. I took a deep breath, fighting back my anger. Let the police handle it. You going there won't do much good. Are you still going to go, even knowing that? She hesitated for only a second. He only trusts me. If I don't go, he'll be terrified. I had to face it. Her heart had changed. I forced myself to remain calm. Chloe, even if saving him now means I'll be ridiculed by everyone, that my name will be dragged through the mud in this city, that my family will become a laughingstock, you're still going to leave me to go to him. This time, she didn't even hesitate. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'll make up for all of that, I promise. The only man I've ever wanted to marry is you. Wait for me. I slowly clenched my fists, my gaze turning cold. Chloe, think carefully. If you walk out that door, this wedding is off. Her steps faltered for just a moment. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone, she turned and walked away without a second thought. Reporters swarmed in. Within a day, The news of Chloe Jensen leaving her own wedding would be all over Seaport City. As the abandoned groom, the star of this public humiliation, I was destined to become the talk of the town. I stood there, watching her back as she disappeared. The spotlights that were meant for me now felt like daggers pointed at my heart. I was trapped under the gaze of hundreds, with nowhere to hide. The blade of public abandonment came down hard, leaving me bloodied and exposed. The bride actually ran out. What on earth is going on? Weren't they supposed to be the perfect couple? Chloe used to be crazy about Ethan. I was so jealous of him. I can't believe she's changed her mind. Even if she changed her mind, she couldn't do it like this. This is her wedding. Leaving Ethan alone on stage. That's just cruel. I'm just curious who this other guy is. Who could possibly make a woman as devoted as Chloe abandon her own wedding for him? The voices were a chaotic mess, all of them about me. A chill ran down my spine, as if I'd been plunged into ice water. People looked at me with a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. Some just shook their heads, their eyes filled with a condescending sympathy, as if I were the most pathetic man alive. I used to envy Ethan so much. Even after he was in a coma, Chloe never left his side. She took care of him for 3 whole years without even looking at another man. I can't believe she's with someone else now. I heard the other guy is the one Ethan saved. While Ethan was in a coma, the guy was always hanging around Chloe, and one thing led to another. Honestly, it would have been better if she'd found a complete stranger. This is just twisting the knife in Ethan's heart. I wonder if Ethan regrets saving Leo Vance now. My father's face was dark with anger. He stormed onto the stage and grabbed my arm. Let's go. Ethan, we're not going to stand here and take this humiliation. He had always admired Chloe, but at this moment, his eyes were red with fury. No son of Richard Hayes is going to be disgraced like this. Chloe's parents stood up, looking at me with apology. Ethan, we are so sorry. What Chloe did was wrong. I apologize to you on her behalf, her father said. Her mother tried to placate my parents. This is all Chloe's fault, and our family will take full responsibility. But please, considering she took care of Ethan for all those years, can't you give her another chance? Chloe's father added in a stern voice. She has you in her heart, Ethan. Otherwise, she wouldn't have sworn she'd come back to marry you. She wouldn't have asked you to wait. I believe she has her reasons. What kind of reason could possibly make her abandon my son in front of everyone? My father shot back, refusing to accept their excuses. You all heard it. That man called her for help, but she's not a cop, and she's not his anything. At most, she's the fiancée of his benefactor. Why did Chloe have to leave Ethan to go save him? My father's words hung in the air, and the venue fell silent. It seemed everyone had just remembered why I'd been in a coma in the first place, because I saved Leo Vance. And now, years later, my wedding was being derailed again, all because of him. Mrs. Jensen looked uncomfortable. We've already apologized on Chloe's behalf. As for the details, we'll have to wait until she gets back to explain. There's nothing to explain. I shook my head, stepping in front of my father. Years ago, my act of heroism had put me in jeopardy. I was so focused on being the good guy that I forgot I had a family to take care of. Now, standing in front of my father, seeing the gray in his hair, my heart ached. It was time for me to stand on my own 2 feet. I made myself perfectly clear. The moment Chloe took that step, the wedding was canceled. My voice was firm. The crowd erupted in gasps. The Jensens' faces turned ashen. Chloe's father pointed a finger at me. What are you doing? This wedding has been set for years. You can't just cancel it. Everyone is watching, Ethan. You can't be so impulsive. I let out a cold laugh. The person who abandoned me at the altar isn't impulsive, but you're calling me impulsive? I know people protect their own, but this is beyond biased. Mrs. Jensen, who was about to scold me, suddenly stopped, her eyes turning red. Ethan, it's not that we don't want to defend you, but this is an emergency. We're suffering too. She dabbed at her eyes. You know she's a kind girl. Otherwise, she wouldn't have waited for you for so many years, never giving up on you even when you were in a coma. It's only natural that she'd want to go save Leo. Mr. Jensen immediately understood his wife's angle, and they exchanged a look. Your mother is right. The most important thing right now is to ensure Chloe and Leo's safety. Leo said on the phone that he was kidnapped. Chloe rushed off to save him. As her fiancé, your first reaction isn't to worry about her, but to cancel the wedding? Is that how you repay her for the 3 years she took care of you? He was a master of corporate doublespeak. First, he called Mrs. Jensen my mother to frame me as part of their family. Then he slapped me in the face, a warning that I shouldn't be causing a scene when I should be worried about Chloe's safety. I scoffed. First, this wedding isn't complete. I have no official ties to the Jensen family, which means Chloe's mother is not my mother. Second, a kidnapping is a matter for professionals, the police. The smartest thing we can do is not get in the way and provide any useful information we have. Chloe is surrounded by bodyguards. She went straight from the wedding. Unless she willingly walks into danger, her security detail would never let her get hurt. If she were truly walking into a death trap, you two would have been the first ones out the door, wouldn't you? After all, Chloe is your only daughter. The Jensens were silent, their faces turning ugly. My voice was devoid of warmth. And finally, the only reason Chloe is being so reckless is that her concern for Leo Vance has completely clouded her judgment. That was her choice. She chose to risk everything for love. What more can I say? They were speechless. I turned to leave, but Mr. Jensen's low voice stopped me. Ethan, think this through. If this wedding is canceled, so is the partnership between Jensen and Hayes. For the Jensen family, it's a financial loss. For your family's struggling company, it's a death sentence. Mrs. Jensen's face hardened. We're trying to give you an out here, a way for both sides to save face. Ethan, you should know how important this wedding is. They'd finally dropped the pretense, revealing their true colors. Compared to their daughter and the family's bottom line, what was my humiliation? My father's eyes blazed with fury. The Hayes family has not fallen so far that we need to sacrifice our son's dignity for profit. Even if it means financial ruin, I will not let anyone make a fool of my son. I took a deep breath and stood beside my father. Dad, they're right. The wedding can't be canceled. My father's expression changed to one of disbelief. I shook my head slightly, silently asking him to trust me, then looked out at the audience. The hall was packed, and the entire city was watching. Our wedding was supposed to be a grand affair, our love the envy of all. Instead, she had abandoned me in front of everyone, turning me into a citywide joke. So this was what it looked like when a woman's heart changed. I let out a self-deprecating laugh, my gaze landing on a figure in the crowd. Everyone else looked at me with pity, scorn, or morbid curiosity. Only she remained perfectly composed, not even a flicker of emotion in her eyes. Chloe Jensen's sister, Dr. Serena Kane, the most distinguished woman in the room. I walked up to her. The wedding is still on, I said calmly. Serena glanced up at me. Oh, while everyone else was in shock, she remained as cool as ever. I looked into her eyes. Serena, will you marry me? Serena sat there, poised and unruffled, as if she had already anticipated how this would all play out. She lifted her gaze, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. Are you sure? I'm Chloe's sister, you know. The crowd finally snapped back to reality, staring at me as if I'd lost my mind. Mr. Jensen was apoplectic. Ethan, have you gone insane? Mrs. Jensen was just as shocked. I know you're upset about Chloe leaving, but you can't just pick a random woman to marry. She's not just some random woman, I said with a faint smile. To me, her sister is the best woman here. You know she's her sister, and you still have the nerve? Mr. Jensen roared. Shameless. Even my own father looked at me, stunned. Ethan, son, I know you're angry. If you want to cancel the wedding, I'll support you completely, but... He trailed off, giving Serena a complicated look. Serena was indeed Chloe's sister, but she wasn't much older, only by a few months, in fact, which made her 5 years younger than me. The Jensen family was the most powerful dynasty in Seaport City. The patriarch, Grandfather Jensen, had numerous children, and Chloe's father was the fifth son. For a long time, Chloe, as the eldest grandchild, was considered the heir apparent, destined to take over the family empire. But then, it turned out that Grandfather Jensen's favorite was Serena, the granddaughter he had only recently found, a woman already in her late 20s. Her father was the patriarch's firstborn son with his first wife, a son who had died young, a source of lifelong grief for the old man. No one knew that this deceased son had left behind a daughter, whom his grandmother had raised away from the cutthroat world of the wealthy. Chloe's father had fought his way through a brutal succession battle among his siblings to secure his position. But it wasn't enough for him. His ambition craved more. Grandfather Jensen, wary of one branch of the family becoming too powerful, had tried to keep him in check. But then Chloe was born, the family's first grandchild, and she was brilliant, a prodigy from a young age. With her help, her father's faction grew stronger, and even the patriarch had to start favoring them. It was at that moment that Serena was officially recognized by the family. Her return signaled a massive shift in the family's power dynamics, because as it turned out, Serena was the true firstborn grandchild. Grandfather Jensen had a colorful past. Before he built his empire, he was married to his first wife, who stood by him through the early struggles. But like so many stories of success, she became the wife he left behind. Their son's early death had been a lingering sorrow for him. Later, grandfather Jensen founded the Jensen Corporation, became the wealthiest man in Seaport City, and had countless children with an unknown number of women. In his old age, however, he found himself alone. But it hardly mattered. His descendants were numerous. No one in their social circle knew anything about his first wife, nor did they care. She was just a woman who had been cast aside. But years later, in a stunning turn of events, the old man reconciled with his first love. And it turned out their deceased eldest son had a child, Serena, who was only a few months older than his first granddaughter, Chloe. At first, everyone assumed Serena was an illegitimate child from one of his affairs. But when the identity of her father was revealed, a hush fell over the family. Serena was welcomed back, but she kept her grandmother's surname, Kane. Chloe's father was vehemently opposed. Just when he thought the entire inheritance was within his grasp, Serena appeared to challenge him and Chloe for the position of heir. He saw her as a thorn in his side. Father, even if she is my brother's biological child, what does she have to do with the Jensen family? She may have your blood, but her name isn't Jensen. What right does she have to be an heir? Shut your mouth, you insolent boy. The response was a sharp slap from his father. Even if her name isn't Jensen, she is my flesh and blood. How dare you say she has no right? I'm not dead yet, and all you can think about is my money. Do you even see me as your father anymore? Grandfather Jensen was furious, and Chloe's father had no choice but to back down. But the idea of splitting the inheritance he'd fought so hard for with a relative he barely knew left a bitter taste in his mouth. The two factions of the family had been clashing behind the scenes for years. Serena's presence at Chloe's wedding was merely a performance to keep up appearances and not embarrass the old man. My own father sighed heavily, pulling me aside and whispering, "Even if you're angry, you can't drag Serena into this. You know how complicated her relationship with the Jensens is." "Dad," I interrupted, "you heard them. We can't call off the wedding." I looked up, meeting the icy stares of Chloe's parents. For our family, canceling this marriage would be a devastating blow. The only way to save our company is to merge with the Jensens through marriage. But as for who I married, that was none of their business. "Ethan, so you do understand that the Hayes family needs this marriage." "Mr. Jensen cut me off before I could finish, his face livid. "It's not Chloe begging to marry you. It's you who needs to marry her. Since you know what's good for you," he continued, "stop throwing a tantrum and talking about canceling the wedding." Mrs. Jensen stepped forward, her initial apology replaced by impatience. "Ethan, we were trying to be reasonable. Chloe has invested so much in caring for you these past 3 years. She told you she would come back and marry you. Why are you making such a big deal out of this one little thing?" I burst out laughing. "So now, Chloe leaving me at the altar is my fault." I paused. "You're right. I never intended to cancel the wedding." Their expressions softened. Just as they were about to speak, I turned my attention back to Serena. Chloe isn't the only woman in the Jensen family available for marriage. I took another step closer, locking eyes with her. "Dr. Kane, you haven't answered my question. Will you marry me?" A dead silence fell over the room. No one seemed to have expected me to be serious. "Ethan, Mr. Jensen roared, finally realizing what was happening. "You threw a tantrum and said some outrageous things, and I let it slide. But if you truly intend to drag my family's name through the mud, don't blame me for what happens next." I ignored him, my gaze fixed on Serena. Beside him, Mrs. Jensen tugged on her husband's arm, looking at me with contempt. "Forget it. Let him continue. Serena is famously aloof and has no time for men. Do you really think she would agree to marry him under these circumstances? This will only make Ethan an even bigger joke. All right, let's get married." Before Mrs. Jensen could finish her sentence, Serena's cool voice cut her off. She looked at me, a hint of a smile in her eyes. Those stunning eyes, a mix of warmth and indifference, looked both passionate and detached. I watched as Mr. and Mrs. Jensen's faces went from shock to pure, unadulterated fury. They were rigid with rage, but didn't dare say a word, only glaring at Serena. "Serena, what do you think you're doing?" Mr. Jensen managed to choke out. "Nothing much." Serena looked at me, a genuine smile now gracing her lips. "Weren't we talking about getting married? Are you coming or not?" A wave of relief washed over me. I walked to her side and took her hand. "Then I'm in your hands, sister-in-law." The last two words were a soft whisper in her ear. Serena glanced at me, her expression unreadable, and let out a small laugh. "You're a bold one. Weren't you afraid I'd say no?" This was a high-stakes gamble. If Serena had refused, I would have become the biggest laughingstock in the city. I didn't say anything, but only I could feel the sweat forming in my palm. I had to maintain a calm exterior. But you said yes, didn't you? She seemed to see right through my act. Without another word, she looked me in the eyes and said, one word at a time, since we have a wedding ready to go, let's get married right now. What do you think? The room was once again plunged into a deathly silence. I saw the Jensen's faces, which had turned a shade of sickly green, and felt a strange sense of satisfaction. I took Serena's hand. She stood up, a vision of pure elegance in her white dress. Standing beside me, she truly looked like a bride. I looked into her eyes, finally letting out a breath I didn't know I was holding, and led her onto the stage under the stunned gazes of everyone present. Just before we stepped up, she leaned in and whispered in my ear, "You knew I'd agree all along, didn't you?" I froze for a second, my eyes darting to her. But Serena simply turned her gaze forward, taking her place at the center of the stage. I pushed my thoughts aside and smiled out at the crowd. The wedding continued, just as Mr. and Mrs. Jensen had insisted. Even with Chloe gone, the ceremony had to go on. The Hayes family needed this marriage to maintain our precarious position. I had just woken up from a 3-year coma. In the eyes of many, I was a write-off, a broken man. Starting today, I had to show them that even with a 3-year gap in my life, I was still Ethan Hayes. The vows originally written for Chloe, I now recited to another woman. Under the watchful eyes of our guests, we exchanged rings. Mr. Hayes, do you take Serena Kane to be your wife to have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? I do. I answered without a shred of hesitation. The officiant wiped a bead of sweat from his brow, looking as if he'd never witnessed such a spectacle. A bride running out was one thing, but for the groom to immediately find a replacement was another entirely. Dr. Kane, do you take this man to be your husband, to have and to hold, from this day forward, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do you part? Serena looked at me, her gaze seeming to pierce right through to my soul. She held my hand as I slid the ring on her finger, and only then did her cool, sweet voice reply, I do. The Jensens, unable to stomach any more, stood up and stormed out. But nearly everyone else stayed for the bizarre ceremony, their disapproval held in check by their respect for Grandfather Jensen. After all, Serena was now the family's rising star, the likely heir. My own father's expression shifted from initial shock to something resembling admiration. Ethan, you took a huge risk, he told me after the wedding. The Hayes family saved face today, but have you considered what would have happened if Serena had said no? Your situation would have been even worse. Dad, don't worry. I knew what I was doing. He didn't know that while I was nervous, I wasn't gambling blindly. I wouldn't have made such a move if I didn't have at least some degree of certainty. Knock, knock, knock. The door to the room creaked open. My father and I turned to see Serena leaning against the frame, a playful smirk on her face. Am I interrupting? My father cleared his throat. Well, I should be going. He tactfully gave us some space. As he passed Serena, he gave her a respectful nod of acknowledgement. To my surprise, Serena replied naturally, Take care, Dad. The unexpected address nearly sent both me and my father stumbling. I stared at her, my eyes wide with shock, but she simply watched my father leave with a calm expression. Before he left, my father gave me another look, as if he wanted to say something, but after a glance at Serena, he thought better of it and walked away. I went to stand behind Serena. After a moment's thought, I said quietly, Thank you for what you did at the wedding. She didn't turn around. You said you knew what you were doing. Why thank me? Her voice was cool, as if she wanted to draw a line between us. I frowned. It seemed she'd overheard my conversation with my father. Serena turned to face me. But you are bold. Did you really not consider the consequences? I looked her in the eye and clenched my fist. Considering our new relationship, I took a breath. I heard what you and Grandfather Jensen were talking about the other day. We were husband and wife now. Regardless of how it happened, we were in the same boat. I felt I owed her an explanation. As expected, she raised an eyebrow. Heard what? That Grandfather Jensen originally planned for you to marry me. She looked intrigued, gesturing for me to continue. Everyone outside the family thinks Grandfather Jensen would want his heir to marry into another powerful dynasty to consolidate the family's influence. That's why no one supported Chloe and me. Her family was even hoping I'd never wake up so they could find a more suitable, patriarch-approved husband for her. But Chloe was determined to marry me, crushing their hopes and making them think she'd lose her standing in the succession race. Her gaze sharpened as I continued. But the truth is, the old man never wanted his heir to marry into another major family. That would only dilute the Jensen family's power and control. He wanted you to marry me, to merge with the Hayes family. It would be much simpler for him. The Jensen family doesn't need another powerhouse as an ally. That's just an invitation for his power-hungry children to bring in outside forces to carve up his empire. The patriarch doesn't want to be carved up. That's why I was the perfect choice. I had been shocked when I overheard their conversation. The person who married me was the one most likely to become the next head of the Jensen family. The Hayes family, while once a prominent name, had been in decline for years. If not for our engagement to the Jensens, we would have been pushed out of the elite circle long ago. We posed absolutely no threat to the Jensen empire. On the other hand, we still had our pedigree. My parents had raised me with a strong set of values, making me a better choice than a complete outsider. All things considered, I was the ideal candidate. It was because I knew this that I had the courage to walk up to Serena when Chloe left me at the altar. But I was still terrified. I didn't know how deep her ambition ran. After all, usurping your sister at her own wedding to marry her fiancé was a scandalous, shocking move. But thankfully, my gamble paid off. Just as I thought, Serena narrowed her eyes, studying me with an amused expression. It seems I underestimated you. She moved closer, her cool, clean scent washing over me. From now on, you're my husband, Ethan Hayes. The sudden intimacy made me instinctively take a step back. But Serena wouldn't let me retreat. Not when I heard her, I allowed her to close the distance. My back was against a hard wall, but in front of me was her soft, fragrant presence. I was trapped in her intoxicating aura, my senses overwhelmed by her scent. Serena. I shifted uncomfortably. Don't push me. I was a perfectly normal man, and she just so happened to be my wife. Just then my phone rang. Right in front of me, Serena pulled out my phone. The name Chloe flashed across the screen. My breath caught in my throat. For a bizarre moment, I felt a pang of guilt like a man caught in an affair. Seeing Chloe's name was like having a bucket of ice water dumped over me, extinguishing any heat I'd felt. I would never forget the image of her abandoning me at the altar for Leo Vance. But I also couldn't forget the 3 years of tender care she'd given me at my bedside. She hadn't just stopped loving me, or maybe she had, and had just fallen in love with someone else. I couldn't blame her, but I couldn't forgive her either. Serena saw the hesitation in my eyes. She took my hand and held the phone up to me. Answer it, she commanded, her tone steely. I frowned. I don't want to hear her voice right now. Serena's lips thinned in displeasure. You don't want to, or you don't dare. I didn't answer. She gave a mocking smile and, with a light tap of her finger, answered the call. My eyes widened. Before I could react, Chloe's voice came through the speaker. Ethan, are you there? My chest heaved with a wave of intense emotion. I wasn't ready to face her, but Serena was forcing me to. I looked up and met her proud, challenging gaze. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. Chloe, how are things on your end? She paused, likely catching the coldness in my tone. Ethan, I'm so sorry. I'll make it up to you, I promise. I'll give you another, even grander wedding. I shook my head. That won't be necessary. It truly wasn't. The wedding had gone on. I had just married someone else. Don't be mad at me. I know what I did was wrong, but Leo was in real danger. I couldn't just stand by and watch him die. Her voice was thick with apology. Ethan, I want to marry you. Wait for me to come back, okay? Before she could finish, a pained groan from Leo echoed in the background. Chloe's voice immediately shifted to one of urgent concern. Ethan, I'll be back as soon as I've dealt with Leo's situation. With that, she hung up. My own spirits sank. After all these years of love, it was impossible not to feel the sting of sadness. Chloe and I had grown up together. She was my destined fiancée from the very beginning. From the time we were children, she would proudly declare to everyone that I was going to be her husband. Even during the 3 years I was in a coma, she never gave up on me. She had just changed. Does it hurt? Serena moved closer, forcing me to meet her gaze. I don't need a husband who grieves for another woman. I shook my head and looked at her. Just give me some time. I'll give you 3 months, she said. Marrying you was a strategic decision. That's true. But I have no intention of getting a divorce. Her tone was cool, but laced with something complex. 3 months. Get your feelings sorted out and commit to this partnership with me. Almost overnight, the entire city of Seaport learned that I had married Serena Kane. Everyone except Chloe. After she ran from the wedding, she disappeared from the public eye. I heard she had rescued Leo and dealt with the kidnappers. It turned out to be his ex-girlfriend from 3 years ago, the one who had betrayed him. She'd been sent to prison, and now that her term was up, she was back to harassing him. Leo, unable to handle it, had turned to Chloe for help, and she had stepped in several times. Perhaps it was in the back and forth of these crises that their feelings for each other grew. Even Chloe herself might not have realized that she had fallen for Leo, unwilling to break her promise to me. She said she would come back to marry me as soon as she was done, but she ended up staying by Leo's side for a full 7 days, nursing him back to health and comforting him. She hadn't even spared a thought for the consequences of her actions, for what would happen to me after being left at the altar. She didn't check in on me, not even once. While she was with Leo, she had completely forgotten about me. A week was more than enough time for me to adjust my perspective. I moved in my new home with Serena. The entire Jensen clan lived on a massive, sprawling estate, but to my surprise, Serena had her own place. I had been worried that if I lived on the Jensen compound, I would inevitably run into Chloe, making things awkward. Now, I didn't have to worry about that. At first, everyone was waiting to see me fall, to watch how the man who had woken from a 3-year coma would cope with being publicly humiliated by Chloe. Now, they were all waiting to see Chloe's reaction. Finally, on the 8th day, when Chloe had settled Leo's affairs and came looking for me, she discovered that the wedding had indeed continued, only with a new bride. These past few days, Serena and I had been sleeping in separate rooms. Tonight, she knocked on my door. "What is it?" I asked, looking at her. She walked in without a word and closed the door. "Chloe's back. You know that, right?" My expression shifted. Of course. My best friend had already flooded my phone with messages. Some were genuinely concerned, others were just looking for gossip. Naturally, news of Chloe's return reached me immediately. "Any thoughts?" she asked, her eyes on mine. I shook my head. What is there to think? What's done is done. She and I are in the past. To me, she's just my wife's sister now. My words seemed to please Serena. Her gaze softened. "Good. As long as you know where you stand. Our situation is delicate. From now on, I want you to get my permission before you see her. Of course, it would be best if you never saw her again." She sounded calm, but beneath the surface of her placid eyes, I could see a storm brewing. That night, she fell asleep in my arms. I held her stiffly, not daring to move. Just as I was about to drift off, I heard her whisper in my ear, "It's okay if you can't sleep now. You can sleep on the plane tomorrow." I looked at her, frowning. "Are we going somewhere tomorrow?" "On our honeymoon, of course," she murmured, snuggling closer. Miraculously, I fell asleep. The next morning, she was already dressed and had packed our luggage. "Let's go, Mr. Hayes." I had assumed this would be just another trip, but when I saw Chloe's car parked downstairs, I shot a surprised glance at Serena. As soon as she saw us, Chloe got out of her car. "Ethan," she called out, her voice more urgent than I had ever heard it. Serena and I were about to get into our own car to head to the airport for our honeymoon. "Don't you dare get out and see her." Sensing my hesitation, Serena gripped my arm, a hint of anger in her voice. "What did you promise me yesterday? You won't see her. You knew she would be here today?" "Of course," she said, her voice cool but laced with suppressed fury. "Ethan, I hate it when people break their promises. So you will not get out of this car. You will not see her." Her words were a threat, but I could hear a trace of nervousness beneath them. I took a deep breath. "Don't worry. I'm not getting out. I don't want to see her anyway." I sat in the car, perfectly still, and watched as Serena got out. The car had one-way windows. I could see out, but no one could see in. Chloe had no idea I was watching her from just a few feet away. This was the first time I had seen her since she left me at the altar. She looked exhausted, her makeup smudged, her clothes wrinkled. I wondered if it was because she had been taking care of Leo, too worried about him to care for herself. Even though I had decided to let her go, the thought still stung. I took another deep breath, trying to steady myself, and watched Serena approach Chloe. "What is it?" Serena asked. "I need to see Ethan." Chloe grabbed Serena's collar, her eyes blazing. "He said he would wait for me. He said no such thing." Serena pried Chloe's hands off her and pushed her away. "Tell me, who did he marry?" Chloe's eyes were red. "Is he just trying to get back at me?" I frowned. It seemed she didn't know it was Serena I had married. After all, Serena was her sister. Her parents must have hidden it from her, though the whole city knew. It was a secret that couldn't be kept forever. I wondered if Serena would tell her the devastating truth right then and there. She paused for a few seconds, but ultimately chose not to. "Ethan is married to someone else. There's no point in looking for him. He wants nothing more to do with you. You're lying. He's just angry with me. I told him I'd come back and marry him." Chloe's voice trembled, but she was still confident. "We have so much history. When he was in a coma, I took care of him for 3 whole years. He knows I love him. He's just mad that I went to save another man." So she knew. I closed my eyes, a bitter sense of irony washing over me. She knew exactly what she was doing, and she still chose to leave me standing there. She was right. We had years of history, and she had taken care of me for 3 years. She had never given up on me. If she had just told me honestly that her heart had changed, I would have been hurt, but I would have wished her well. But she shouldn't have trampled on my family's dignity in front of the entire world. He won't forgive you. You know his personality better than I do, Serena said. But from now on, you are no longer the one who knows him best. Chloe started to argue, but Serena had already turned and gotten back in the car. She had created a barrier between me and Chloe, a closed car door that kept us apart. The moment she sat down, she leaned against me. If you so much as look at her again, you're dead to me. Her tone was threatening, but I had clearly sensed her nervousness earlier. I looked at her, confused. I promise you, I will have nothing to do with her. I won't jeopardize our family's alliance, and I won't do anything to embarrass you. But I gently pushed her away and sat up, straightening my clothes. Do you really need to sound like a wife catching her husband cheating? She narrowed her eyes, unfazed by my sarcasm. She even nodded in agreement. You're right. So don't have any contact with her. I was getting impatient. I pushed her away again and stared out the window, motionless. The car started moving. It seemed she didn't want me to see Chloe anymore. I could only watch her familiar figure in the rearview mirror, shrinking into the distance as I said silent goodbye. Goodbye, my girl. For now on, we are strangers. Our honeymoon destination was Las Vegas. I hadn't expected such a romantic choice. I thought you'd pick a place where we could do business. Serena glanced at me. Who says we can't do business here? She had booked the presidential suite on the top floor of the hotel, with a stunning view of the city below. I wasn't in the mood to argue. I sat down on the large bed. She got up from her computer and walked over to me, her hands planted on either side of me, her body a graceful silhouette. I believe we still have a wedding night to attend to. Her words made me freeze. I looked at her, my expression complicated. But Serena simply tilted my chin up. Ethan, I've given you your time. Don't forget, we are legally married. I have no intention of getting a divorce, and I certainly have no intention of this being a marriage in name only. I know. I knew this wouldn't be a sham marriage. I knew this day would come. I just hadn't expected it to be so soon. She pushed me down with surprising force, her hands fumbling with my shirt. Her movements were clumsy, as if trying to hide her own inexperience. I chuckled softly, seeing through her facade, and gently guided her. Her words were always sharp, but tonight she was incredibly tender. So tender it felt almost surreal. The night was long, and the physical intimacy brought us closer. This honeymoon, surprisingly, made me feel a growing connection to her. Her words often echoed in my mind. We're a team, a single entity. You have to trust that I will never do anything to hurt you. Compared to the abstract idea of love, her practical declaration felt far more convincing. The day we flew back, as we were leaving the airport, I saw a familiar figure. It was Chloe. The moment I saw her, my expression hardened. She had been trying to contact me throughout our honeymoon. I'd gotten so fed up that I changed my number, but I never imagined she would track down my flight information. Serena saw her too and immediately stepped in front of me, blocking Chloe from my view. Our car was already waiting. I glanced back at Chloe and saw she wasn't alone. Leo Vance was with her, his eyes red as he pleaded. He's already married. Why are you so obsessed with him? He's just mad at me, Chloe muttered, pushing him away. He's just angry I left him to save you. As soon as I explain that he's the only one I love, he'll come back to me. Leo, despite his recent kidnapping, looked surprisingly well, probably thanks to Chloe's attentive care. I averted my gaze. Strangely, the heart-wrenching pain I used to feel was gone. Soon, we were back at our new home. It wasn't until we got out of the car that I realized Serena and I were holding hands. Our relationship had progressed rapidly on this trip. I cleared my throat and let go of her hand. Serena looked at me with concern. Are you not feeling well? I'm fine. Then why are you pulling away? She took my hand again. Was I too demanding these past few days? I'm sorry. You just woke up from a coma. I shouldn't have been so thoughtless. That's not the reason. I shot her a look. I didn't know if she was being serious or just teasing, but even if she had been more demanding, I could have handled it. Serena laughed, a rare blush coloring her cheeks. If you're ever uncomfortable, you need to tell me. I know. Her sudden gentleness was still something I was getting used to. As soon as we got home, my best friend, Sam, called. Do you have any idea that Chloe has been looking for you like a crazy person? Sam and I have been friends for years. He was thrilled when I woke up and had expected Chloe and me to finally get our happy ending. The reality had left him furious. Leaving you at the altar to go save another guy. I don't know what's wrong with her. If she loved you so much, she shouldn't have done something so hurtful. I forced a smile. Hearing Chloe's name now just left me feeling empty. She just hasn't realized she's in love with Leo. What she feels for me is more of an obligation. But I don't blame her. She took care of me for 3 years. Once she figures things out, she'll stop looking for me. You think so? From the way she's acting, I'm not so sure. Sam suddenly went quiet, then sighed. Ethan, you have no idea how insane she's been. She's searched all over Seaport City, practically turning the place upside down. Then someone leaked that you were on your honeymoon. She tried to go abroad, but her parents stopped her. After a few quiet days, she started investigating the woman you married, but she couldn't find anything. We were all too scared to tell her who it was. But I think she's starting to guess. It's just a matter of whether she's willing to admit it. I shook my head. He sighed and hung up. Outside, a light rain began to fall, quickly turning into a downpour that hammered against the windows. I stood on the balcony, looking down, and saw a familiar figure below. Chloe was standing there, letting the heavy rain soak her to the bone. My heart skipped a beat. My first reaction wasn't pity, but a sudden realization. She probably knew. But then I laughed at myself. What was there to be afraid of? The whole city knew. She was bound to find out sooner or later. I was already prepared. What was there to feel guilty about? I turned around and saw Serena standing behind me, watching me in silence. I thought she would be angry, but she said nothing, just looked at me. After a long moment, she said coolly, "Go see her if you want to." I shook my head, my answer firm. "I don't." As I walked past her, Serena grabbed my sleeve. "Go get closure." So that was her intention. A sense of clarity washed over me. I gave her a deep look. What if she won't let go? With me here, she wouldn't dare. Serena's voice was cold and confident, laced with a hint of disdain. She clearly didn't see Chloe as much of a threat. At the gate, Chloe was blocked by the iron fence, which gleamed under the onslaught of rain, looking dark and heavy in the night. She stood there, drenched, her head bowed, looking like a lost dog. I stood at the doorway. "Go home," I said softly. When she saw me, her eyes lit up. She grabbed the bars of the gate. "Ethan, you're finally seeing me." I didn't move, keeping the rain-swept distance between us. "You've seen me. Now go home." My voice was too cold. She gradually calmed down, her dark eyes fixed on me. "Come home with me, and I'll leave." I suddenly laughed. In the middle of a storm, I was actually laughing. "You must have heard. I'm married now. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to go with you." Her body began to tremble. I had noticed when she arrived that she was deliberately ignoring the fact that I was married. But now that I'd said it so bluntly, she could no longer deny it. "Do you have to do this to me?" A sob escaped her throat. "They told me you were with my sister." I refused to believe it. "Even if you wanted to get back at me, I never thought you'd do it like this." "This isn't about revenge," I cut in. "It's because she was my best option." I looked at her calmly. "Chloe, you might have misunderstood. I was hurt when you left the wedding, but I don't hate you. I know you were good to me, and I know you looked after me for 3 years. You were good to my parents, too. So, let's just call it even." She stared at me, aghast, her expression so close to breaking that I almost felt a twinge of pity. But I held her gaze and said, "This is the best outcome for both of us. We shouldn't see each other again." "No." She lunged forward, grabbing my wrist through the bars. "Open the gate. Let me in. I'm taking you with me. I know you're mad at me. I know I was wrong. I shouldn't have left you, but I didn't have a choice. I know you couldn't just stand by and watch Leo die. You were worried about him. You love him. You just don't realize it yet." I was determined to shatter her denial, my voice calm and steady. "Don't worry. I wish you both the best." She looked like she was about to fall apart. "I don't love him. I love you, Ethan. Don't do this to me." "If you don't love him, why did you choose him over me without a moment's hesitation? You know it wasn't a life or death situation. There were police, bodyguards, and professional rescue teams. It wasn't up to you, but you still went because he's the most important person to you. Nothing in this world matters more than his safety. That's why you went. My pride and my dignity meant less to you than him. If that's not love, what is?" The color drained from her face as I spoke. In that moment, I felt a pang of pain myself. The person who once loved me so much had moved on. It was impossible not to feel sad, but a clean break was better than a slow, painful decline. Drowning in sorrow was unforgivable. I'd already lost 3 years. I couldn't let my own emotional turmoil drag down the people who cared about me any longer. And clearly, Chloe was no longer the one who loved me. At least, not the only one. She had fallen in love with someone else. I didn't. I don't like him," she cried, looking at me with desperation. "Ethan, I've never liked him. The person I love has always been you." "Really? Can you even believe your own words right now?" I glanced past her shoulder. Leo Vance had appeared at some point, his face a mask of hurt. "Chloe, you really don't love me," he asked, his voice hoarse, his face streaked with rain. Chloe froze when she saw him. That single moment of hesitation was all the answer I needed. I pulled my hand away from hers. You should go to him. The rain is getting heavier. He was just rescued. His body can't take this. I wasn't generous enough to wish them well, but Chloe had done so much for me. She had taken care of me for 3 years while I was helpless. I didn't deny that she had loved me. Perhaps even now, she still loved me most, but it was undeniable that she had also fallen for Leo. I had a zero-tolerance policy when it came to love. I couldn't accept it. This kind of divided affection was not what I wanted. Chloe finally snapped out of it and shoved Leo away, throwing her arms around me from behind. I'm sorry, Ethan. I just felt sorry for him, that's all. I'm so sorry. I'll never leave you alone again. You're the only one in my heart, the most important person to me. Don't go. Her voice cracked with sobs. If I had known that saving him would mean losing you, I never would have left. Her words made Leo freeze, his voice breaking as he demanded, I don't believe you. Chloe, look me in the eyes. Do you really have no feelings for me? I know, I shouldn't be with you. I shouldn't have fallen for you. But we can't control our hearts. Ethan was just in your life first. If it wasn't for him, we would have been in love. Shut up. Chloe cut him off, her voice filled with rage. The only person I love is Ethan, and it will always be him. You and I are impossible. Stop lying to yourself. Leo shouted through his tears. You love me. If you didn't, why would you have left him at the altar to come to me? That was the same question I had been asking her. Clearly, Chloe couldn't answer it herself. She fell silent, her gaze fixed stubbornly on me. Ethan, believe me. Just as her hand was about to touch me, a sweet but furious voice cut through the air. Why should he believe you? I turned and looked up to see a face that was both familiar and foreign to me. A beautiful face. Serena. I was surprised to see her. I thought you said I should handle this myself. Serena didn't answer. She simply nestled into my arms, her expression cold as she looked at Chloe. Show some respect. He's your brother-in-law now. The words brother-in-law hit Chloe like a physical blow. She seemed unable to bear it and lunged at Serena. What kind of sister are you? You knew I loved him. Why would you do this to me? Serena looked at her as if she had just heard the most ridiculous thing in the world. If you truly loved him, how could you have given me this opportunity? Chloe froze, as if turned to stone, her tears suspended in the rain. I couldn't tell if she was crying, but seeing her red-rimmed eyes, I turned my head away. Serena held an umbrella over my head and glanced at Chloe. If you want to have a cat fight, I'm available anytime. But he's my husband now. Please refrain from bothering him in the future. With that, she calmly led me back inside. The moment the door closed, she surged forward and kissed me, a fierce, passionate kiss that allowed no retreat. Serena. I barely had time to say her name before I tasted her tears. My heart clenched. I actually felt a pang of sympathy for this woman. That night, I was relentless. She was clearly overwhelmed, but she fought back like a cornered kitten, her nails scratching lightly. She was practically melting in my arms, but all I could hear was her fierce whisper in my ear. Don't you ever see her again. I was lost in the whirlwind she created, barely aware of where I was, only able to nod dazedly in agreement. After that night, Chloe and Leo faded from my life. I heard Chloe got very sick. The storm had taken a huge toll on her, both physically and emotionally. The people who had been waiting for our drama to unfold finally fell silent. Only Chloe's parents came to see me, their faces a mixture of exhaustion and anger. You want Ethan? Mrs. Jensen said with a cold, sarcastic laugh, though the weariness in her eyes betrayed her. Chloe is in the hospital. You should go see her. I frowned. She has Leo to keep her company now, doesn't she? And if not, you're her family. In her heart, you're the only one that matters. Mrs. Jensen's voice was tight with resentment. You must be so proud. Even now, you're the only one she wants to see. I frowned again, but I don't want to see her. I told them, our relationship has changed. It's not appropriate for us to see each other anymore. They knew what I meant. I was now her brother-in-law. We shouldn't be meeting. But Mrs. Jensen's eyes suddenly filled with tears. You just can't forgive her? What unforgivable sin did she commit that you have to treat her this way? I gave a bitter smile. She didn't do anything wrong, really. She just left me at the altar. Their expressions finally soured. So what? That doesn't mean anything. She took care of you for 3 years when you were in a coma. She never once complained or looked at another man. Doesn't that prove her devotion to you? And that's why I don't blame her for leaving the wedding, I said. I don't blame her, but that's as far as it goes. Our relationship can't go back to what it was. My voice was calm. Please go home. There's no future for us. Mrs. Jensen stared at me in disbelief, beyond any rational conversation. Mister. Jensen finally stepped forward, his eyes cold. Are you just going to stand by and watch her die? That's a bit of an exaggeration, I replied. We broke up. Are you really trying to hold her life over my head? Mrs. Jensen finally broke down, sobbing. Just go see her once. I'm begging you. Ethan, you can't be this cruel. I sighed, feeling helpless. Do you really want me to get involved with her again? They both fell silent. Just go see her, Mrs. Jensen said, her mind made up. She's my only child. Nothing is more important than her life. I nodded, agreeing. My breakup with Chloe had been too abrupt. Maybe it was time for a final goodbye. What none of us expected was that Serena would insist on coming with me. When Chloe's parents saw Serena in the hospital room, their faces turned green. Ethan, we asked you to come. Why did you bring her? Serena simply linked her arm through mine and looked at them calmly. He's my husband. I have a right to know where he goes. While Serena dealt with them, I pushed open the door to Chloe's room. She was lying in bed, looking incredibly weak. They hadn't been lying. She was definitely sick. When she saw me, she coughed a few times and struggled to sit up. Ethan, you came. She gave a weak smile. I thought I'd never see you again. I nodded. We should try not to see each other anymore. This will be the last time. Why? Her eyes immediately reddened. You still haven't forgiven me? I shook my head. I was never angry with you. But as the words left my mouth, she looked as if she had just heard the most devastating news. She closed her eyes. Don't say that. I know you hate me. Because hate meant you still cared. Not hating her meant I had let go. I was speechless, unsure how to comfort her. After a long pause, I said quietly, if you need me to hate you, then fine. I hate you. Why don't you hate me anymore? She suddenly rushed forward and hugged me, her voice choked with sobs. I did something terrible to you. You should hate me. I gave a bitter laugh. So you do know that leaving me at the altar was a terrible thing to do? Her body stiffened. She pulled back, her words tumbling out in a frantic apology. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. I don't know what I was thinking. Please, can you forgive me? I told you, I already have. Have you forgotten? I said with a smile. I was never angry with you. But the more I said it, the more despair filled her eyes. Then I don't want your forgiveness. Hate me. Ethan, I'm begging you, just hate me. Why do you want me to hate you? I sighed. We had a beautiful past. I don't want to hate you or blame you. I wish you and Leo all the best. She suddenly looked as if she had found a lifeline. I'm not in contact with him anymore. I kicked him out that day. I'll never have anything to do with him again. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done that to you. I love you, you know that. How could he ever compare to you? I sighed again. Stop lying to yourself. You fell in love with him. You know I won't blame you. You were good to me when we were together, and you took care of me when I couldn't take care of myself. So, I wish you both well. As I said this, I glanced toward the bathroom. I knew Leo Vance was in there. I knew Chloe. She might believe she loved me, and I believed her love was real, but that love had been split in two and given to someone else. I didn't want that kind of love. I knew there was an audience, but I said it anyway because this was the last time. Leo, however, clearly couldn't take it. A second later, he burst out of the bathroom. Ethan, you've gone too far. You don't deserve her love. Chloe was stunned to see him. What are you doing here? She frowned, her expression impatient. Didn't I tell you to get lost? Then, she looked at me nervously, as if afraid I'd be angry. Ethan, I'm sorry, I didn't know he was here. It doesn't matter. I shook my head. We're not together anymore. I wouldn't say anything even if you were with him. I even managed a calm smile. Of course, if you were with any other man, my blessings would be more sincere. After all, I shot a cool glance at Leo. The only reason I was in a coma was because I was saving him. Leo fell silent. After a moment, he said resentfully, I owe you for that, but Chloe doesn't owe you anything. How can you treat her like this? She loves you so much. Really? Weren't you the one just saying she was in love with you and didn't even know it? His expression faltered, and he was at a loss for words. No matter what, you're the only one I've ever loved. Chloe looked at me, her eyes red and tearful. I admit, I felt sorry for him, but compared to my love for you, it's nothing. You know me. I sighed. Chloe, I'm sorry. I can't accept a love that has any impurities. You should know that about me. Chloe's eyes finally filled with tears. What if I begged you? I'm begging you to stay with me. Leo's eyes also reddened. To stay with her. I'm begging you too. Who do you think you are? Why do you have to beg him for anything? The door to the room swung open, and Serena walked in with a scoff, her eyes fixed on Leo. You're the last person in this room with any right to speak. Leo jumped when he saw her. A moment later, he recognized her. You're Chloe's sister, the one who stole the man she loves. He wasn't stolen. She gave him away. Serena's expression was neutral, and it was because she believed your foolish words that she lost the one she loved. She brought this on herself. That's because Chloe doesn't love me. If she loved me, I would treat her better than Ethan ever could. Leo shouted. Ethan doesn't love her. He married you so quickly. He never deserved Chloe's love. Really? Leaving him at the altar to be humiliated by everyone. You think that's love? Serena's voice was cold. I don't deny she loved him once, and that she's genuinely sorry now. But for Ethan, once a relationship is tainted, once there's a crack, it can never be fixed. And you are that stain. Serena looked at him, her words merciless. You have no right to say anything. No matter what, Ethan saved your life. You seem to have conveniently forgotten that. If it weren't for you, Ethan and Chloe would be married. You wouldn't be in the picture, and neither would I. He saved your life, and he lost everything. His fiancée left him for you at his own wedding, and you have the audacity to say he doesn't deserve her? The only person here who is undeserving is you. You don't deserve the life Ethan saved. Leo's face went pale. His hand was fumbling with something behind his back. I narrowed my eyes and realized he was live streaming. He stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Serena let out a cold laugh. Am I wrong? Chloe could have gotten together with anyone else, and it wouldn't have hurt Ethan so much. But she left him for you on their wedding day. How do you think that made him feel? I never expected Serena to understand me so completely. Her voice was icy. This is a dual betrayal. He was your savior, and instead of being grateful, you stole his fiancée. She then turned her mocking gaze to Chloe. I believe your feelings for Ethan are sincere, but your sincerity is a joke. To fall for a man like this just proves you're two of a kind. Chloe looked utterly devastated. Her eyes filled with regret as she looked at me. I'm sorry, Ethan. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have left you. I promise I'll never see him again. I really have no feelings for him. Maybe a little pity, but the person I truly love has always been you. All feelings start with pity, I told Chloe. It's over between us. Even Serena understood me. How could she not know that I couldn't accept a tainted love? Chloe suddenly turned to Serena, her voice filled with desperation. And what about her? Can she guarantee that she'll love only you for the rest of her life? That her attention will never wander? She then looked back at me, her voice pleading. Ethan, I'll never make that mistake again. Give me one more chance. You're the only person I want to spend the rest of my life with. There's never been anyone else. You really never loved me? Leo asked, his voice choked with emotion. Yes. Chloe's answer was sharp and unwavering. I never loved you. Maybe I felt sorry for you, but I would never give up Ethan for you. Leo finally accepted defeat, dropped his phone, and left. The live stream was still running. Serena immediately ended it. Chloe's face went white, and then she gave a bitter laugh. To think I lost you because of a man like that. Leo had been live streaming from the bathroom, hoping to make me a laughingstock to show the world that Chloe had cheated on me. But in the end, he was the one who was humiliated. I never liked that Leo guy. You saved his life, and he steals your girl, without a shred of remorse, just putting on a sad act for Chloe. Sam said furiously, Thank God you have Serena. Those two got what they deserved. Otherwise, I'd be furious for you. After that night, I didn't see Chloe for a long time. I heard she and Leo never got together. His reputation in our circle was ruined, and though he had apparently tried to get help from Chloe multiple times, Sam told me she had ignored him completely. Since Serena was her sister, I thought we might run into her occasionally, but Serena made sure that never happened. I had always assumed our marriage was just a business arrangement, but over time, our relationship slowly deepened and improved. I did think about what Chloe had said. Could Serena guarantee she would be faithful to me? But then I realized that because I had no expectations, I didn't really care. I hadn't married her for love. We were together because it was a suitable arrangement, because we had shared interests and goals. Without expectations, there could be no disappointment. What I didn't expect was for her to give me a sense of security that went far beyond what I could have anticipated. Everyone joked that the Ice Queen had suddenly developed a case of lovesickness, turning into the kind of devoted wife she used to scoff at. She never made any grand promises, but her actions showed me that I was the only one for her. Most of my time is dedicated to my work. I only have a small fraction left for my personal life, she told me once, her gaze serious. Believe it or not, I don't have the extra energy to develop feelings for other men. I'm not an emotionally effusive person. I don't have Chloe's kindness, the kind that makes you feel pity and affection for others. It's true I'm cold-blooded, but I will never be cruel to you. When she said kindness, her tone was dripping with sarcasm. I couldn't help but laugh. All right, it's been a long time. You can let it go. Life went on, slow and warm. Serena became pregnant. The arrival of our child brought her immense joy, and people gradually forgot about my past with Chloe. I hoped she would be able to move on too. Later, at our child's first birthday party, Chloe, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, finally appeared. She didn't say anything. She had cut her hair and looked like the bright, vibrant girl she once was, just with a touch of maturity. She placed a gift in my hands. Serena watched her warily, preventing any prolonged contact between us. Chloe just smiled faintly. You don't have to be so tense. I'm over him. With that, she left the gift and departed. But when I later opened the letter she had included, I felt a wave of melancholy. She had written, I've let you go, but you'll always be in my heart. Ethan, when you were with me, I was a person full of feeling. I could love, I could hate, I could feel sympathy for others. I never imagined that this abundance of feeling would be what drove us apart, what made you leave my side. Only after you were gone did I become an empty shell, unable to feel love or hate. But by the time I realized this, it was too late. I had lost you completely. If I could do it all over again. The rest of the sentence was left unwritten, and I had no desire to read on. She was right. It was too late. I had my own life, and she had her future. I would walk my path, without compromise and without regret.